Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Maker's Bar, where we are creating 1 million leaders today for tomorrow. It's your boy, Seth Garu Baxter. Today, I have got to tell you, I am more than pleased and definitely trying to maintain my composure with one of the funniest people, one of the funniest people I've ever met. And it is a great joy to have her with us today. And Barb Snelgrove. Barb has worked in the media and communications industry since 1998 and as a professional social media strategist and consultant since 2011. She is the owner of megamouthmedia Consulting, a boutique PR firm and brand development company specializing in assisting businesses, arts and culture agencies, and nonprofit agencies connect to the online digital market via proven and targeted social media strategies. Barb is also a public speaker on digital marketing, brand development, and PR topics, and has presented at media conferences and events in and around the Lower Mainland. She is an ambassador for I Love Gay and the first LGBTQ media company, and is an advisory panel member of the Alphabet Pop-Up, connecting media brands to the global LGBTQ plus advertising and marketing community. Barb is a recipient of the BC Broadcasters Award and has been a columnist, TV host, and is a host and producer of Queer FM Radio, Canada's longest running Alphabet radio program. Alphabet, for you guys who don't know, for the duration of this interview, will be LGBTQ+. Barb is a recipient of the Broadcasters Award and has been, I did say that. Barb has been acknowledged for her many years of community service and accolades, such as the Vancouver Pride Society Outstanding Community Member Award, TELUS Legacy Award, a two-time finalist for the City of Vancouver Award of Excellence, and YWCA Women of Distinction. Barb was inducted into the Canadian Q Hall of Fame alongside Jane Rule and Jack Layton in Toronto in 2013. Ladies and gentlemen of the Maker's Bar audience, please welcome Barb Snelgrove, aka megamouthmedia and humorist extraordinaire. Barb, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me on the show, Seth, and hello to the Maker's Bar audience.
Thank you so much. So, Barb, I can't say enough about how you bring a smile to my face and to so many others. And to have you here with us today to bring joy to the Maker's Bar audience, as well as you and your expertise in your field. We are excited to hear everything about you today. So, for starters, Barb, tell us, what's your origin story?
I am a born and raised Vancouverite, British Columbia, the west coast of Canada, and honored to live and operate my business and get to be on the unceded lands of the Musqueam, Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. So a big thank you and a shout out to them and acknowledgement of the fact that I get to do what I do here on this beautiful, beautiful land that they are the First Nations people. And this is their little corner of the world, and I'm very, very blessed to be on it.
Absolutely. Now, tell us about your childhood. How did you? It's hard for me to stop laughing anytime I see anything that you publish.
Your tree show kind of pooped you out, didn't it, buddy?
It did. So tell us, growing up, what was it like for you?
Very much, I was very, very blessed. I mean, it was the perfect childhood, as perfect as it gets. There was 4 kids, 2 parents that absolutely adored each other, and middle class. And we played out in the yard. This was before social media and cell phones, so we got to enjoy a lovely life without all of those pressures. You went outside and you played, and we'd have Olympics, and we'd create our own medals out of cardboard, and have the little podium where you got to win them, or we would put on a circus for the neighborhood, and you get a bunch of candy and sell. I was in charge of selling the candy. I had on, I think it was one of my parents, it was one of those tacky 70s bar jackets. like a cocktail bar jacket that had all the little attachments, and it had beer caps for buttons, and I had all the candy stuffed in all the pockets, and kept going out into the garage and chewing up all the bubble gum. But it was, and I was so busted because the bubble gum was that, what was it, cat brand? I can't remember what it was called. I haven't made it in years, but it was black licorice. So you come up, it's like, you ate all the gum, didn't you? And it's like my lips are all black. It's like, no. Yeah, it was a beautiful life. Both of my parents, and I always hate saying this phrase because it somehow sounds a little obnoxious, but they were beautifully and tailored to raising children, and in a good way, to
Mm.
raise them to be independent, free thinking, strong grown-ups. That was, and I think they did a very good job on all of us. So I was very, very blessed to have wonderful parents and to grow up in a warm, loving atmosphere.
Now, were your parents funny, or did they have a great sense of humor? Do you attribute some of your style and your humor to your parents, or was it just Barb just one day popped out and said, "Here's some
No,
jokes"?
we're gonna blame this one on genetics. Yeah, yeah, I'll take
Okay.
that one off my lap. Yes, it was a very funny, very quick household, and yeah, yeah, you had to know your business to get the jokes out and to land it, and spot on every time. But I think Canadians as a whole are a humorous lot, and hey, we're finding our humor is being tested these days, but it's a British Scottish background, so the British humor, we grew up with that. The programs you watch on television, or most of them back then, especially, were either Canadian or British. You had the U.S. television, but you paid more attention to the European broadcasting. So, the Monty Python, the Benny Hill, Marty
Oh,
Film. I
Benny
mean, you
Hill.
could go on the list of
Oh yeah.
the comedy that you grew up on, and again, it's the atmosphere I grew up in. And it's like you got to give yourself a little bit of credit too. I guess if you're
Absolutely.
if you're if you're funny, you're funny. But I don't consider myself that. But if I can go by
I
the
do.
if I can go by the smiles and laughs of the people around me, then okay, maybe I'm kind of hitting the mark some of the time.
Oh yeah, you're hitting the mark over this way. I tell you that. I tell you that. I remember Benny Hill and Second City was one of my favorite
Oh,
programs
oh my
growing up.
God, kids!
Oh,
How could I forget?
kids
Uh,
and Kids in the Hall.
yeah, Kids in the Hall. This hour has 22 minutes, which is, gosh, it's one of the longest running shows on television. It's still going. And yeah, it's just it's a different sense of humor because there was.
It
I don't
is.
know if you remember Xena Warrior Princess.
Yes, Lucy
Okay,
Lawless.
Lucy Lawless. Yep. Well, there is a character, Catherine. Oh gosh, I've forgotten her name, but Marge Gillahante, or something along that lines. And she dressed in these outfits in the Xena, and she was, March, the warrior queen. And she would basically go right in and, into the prime minister's office and meet with them. And,
In that outfit.
Xena drag. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You can see them on YouTube. But oh God, yeah, she was just Marge, warrior princess, and every one of them would do it. And some of the interviews that they did with them were absolutely hilarious. And then one of the conservative prime ministers was in, and you kind of had to, because you'd look like an idiot if you didn't go along with it. Every other prime minister has ended up with lipstick kisses all over his face, and yeah, so it's that kind of an atmosphere.
It is. It's one of my. I gotta say, it's one of my most fun experiences is Canadian humor because there's such a timing to it, and
Oh
there's
yeah,
such a place for it, and I just find it.
Second
It
City.
just
Yep.
Second City. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness! Yeah, I remember staying up late when I wasn't supposed to, just to watch it, and then right after Benny Hill. And so, if my mom came downstairs, I'd hurry up and turn off the TV.
Feel the laughing though, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's part of
Yeah.
it. So, where did megamouthmedia come from?
Ah, gosh, I don't even necessarily remember. I do know that I've been hosting things for many, many years, emceeing, and it's everything from game shows to corporate to fundraisers. And it just sort of morphed. That's actually a darn good question. That just sort of morphed when I started the company. It worked because you could hear my voice a coming. Yeah, you knew when Barb entered the room. And, it makes me think of one afternoon, I think it was like 100,000 people out in a park, and, the microphone died on stage, and I let her bark, and I'm like, "Blah, blah, blah, can you hear me in the back?" And they're like, "We got you loud and clear, Barb." I had no voice by the end of the day, but, it was the mouth that roared, that's for sure. So, it's megamouth. It's, in media, you need to kind of be able to be heard across all sorts of different mediums, especially nowadays. So it just seemed appropriate, and it kind of stuck. And that's everything, all across the socials. That's where you'll find me at Megamouth Media.
Well, I gotta say, you with all the accolades that I read off, and hopefully not too fast, a PR background is as well as part of your experience. Tell
Mhm.
us what it was like being in PR.
You have to be sharp. I mean, you have to pay attention. You have to. I look at the world, and again, this is a genetic thing, but it greatly benefits me in PR. Is you kind of look at the world like this, that way,
Hmm.
outwards. So from that one point, what is the ripple effect? The old throw a pebble in the water type of thing. So you have to be able to act and react quite quickly. You have to be able to anticipate. I think it's very, very important, and come up with creative ways of trying to get the word out for people about themselves, their brand. You know.
I'd imagine some of your humor has a great deal to play in the stress of running a PR or doing
Oh
PR.
yeah.
I would imagine. So, give us one of the worst moments that you've had in PR where humor was a saving grace.
Stump the panel with me on that one, Seth.
Oh,
I just
no.
kind of I have a great self-preservation element where I have a tendency to just to click the off button or erase the tape as to where after these kind of things happen. I try to, as much as possible, always focus on positives
Okay.
and try not to let negatives. So I, honest to gosh, I can't even think of anything to tell you as an example where humor. I do know I can give an example where I thought humor might work to our benefit. Was We have a magazine here, newspaper called the Georgia Strait. The Georgia Strait is actually a strait of water that is located in and around here because we're surrounded by water here on Vancouver on the west coast. And the Georgia Strait is, I think, for the longest time, it was North America's longest independent newspaper when all the newspapers were being bought up. And it was a leftover from the 60s and hippies, and it was that kind of writing, and it just morphed into an independent newspaper. And straight should have, if it's referring to the body of water, be spelled Strait, but of course it was spelled like straight and narrow, like with a G and an H in there. But Heather Erin Klinghorn, God bless her heart, was involved with the Georgia Strait. So the first year I was involved with the Vancouver Pride Society to put on the Pride Parade, and it was just a little thing. It was basically a couple of drag queens in a shopping cart back then. We'll make it big this first year, right? We're going to make this big. And when we went out looking for sponsors, I got speaking with Erin at the Georgia Strait, and so we came up with this brilliant idea to rebrand it um, for that one 2-week period over Vancouver's Pride celebrations as the Georgia Gay. So it had big pink, like when they take when they that type of font, it's basically like a paintbrush. And so it's got the Georgia Strait, but then it was gay in huge pink letters across the strait. And they, as I recall her telling me, people were writing in going, where's this week's, edition? Like it's missing. It hasn't come out. And they're like, it's out. Not called the same thing, but it's out. So that was fun. And it ended up being mentioned in some I went there was an art exhibition, and that was a huge part of the art exhibition was was that, oddly enough, years and years later. And I was speaking with them when I was at it. And I said, funny you should be, using this so much because that was me and myself and Aaron. And they're like, oh my God, really?
No, I gotta
Flawless.
ask.
It was fabulous, I tell you. Yeah. Way to go queer up the local newspaper. And what is it? A friendly takeover, not a hostile one, of course. Yeah.
I gotta say, I gotta say, what makes you laugh? Because you bring laughter to other people. So what do you find humorous?
It can be the oddest thing. And if you bring humor into, if your mind is just kind of built that way, right? Um, you find the humor in everything. You have to. I've been surrounded by I had my mother's becoming terminally ill very young in life. I was a wee pup in arms, but I was, at the ass end of the AIDS crisis. So seeing, all my mentors, all these men that were, made me into the fabulous little queer girl that I would become, all dying. So, I've had I've had more than my share of grief, but you just you've got to keep going, you've got to find the positives, and you've got to find the funnies, and the stupidest things will make me laugh. And I wish I could give an example right now, but it could be just something walking down the street, and most people would look at it one way, and I stop, have a laugh, and take a picture and walk off, right? Because I'm looking at it in a totally different way. But yeah, it's bode me well over these years. It really, really has.
You had a couple of different viral moments. Can you tell
Mm.
us about one of those that first comes to your mind?
Oh gosh. You never know. Here, social media 101. If you go looking to make a viral video, you're setting yourself up for heartbreak. Everyone wants to go viral. And it usually starts by accident. I think most people will tell you that. You can't set yourself up and go, this is going to go viral, because you're relying on, say, if the viral, say 1 million is a viral platform or level we're talking about here. And again, things that could be 50,000 are viral, depending on how you want to look at it. But let's use 1 million as the guiding post here. And invariably, it's usually an accident. You can't go making that happen. And that's the first thing I tell people when I, do social media seminars. I said, you're just going to set yourself up for failure. Just be you, be authentically you. Or if you find something, and hopefully, this is what I do on mine now, because I want to try and spread a little joy and laughter, as opposed to a lot of the negatives that are out there. So I had one that I put up that has gone viral twice now, and I think it's over 2 million views. And I didn't even think anything of it as being at all interesting to anyone. I just found it a little funny, and I was a bit hurried. And I thought, oh, I'm just going to put this up, just for shits and giggles, and see what happens, and throw the spaghetti at the wall, and whatever other analogies you can think of. And all of a sudden it took off. So I'm like, okay, there's another bunch of people out there with as sick and warped and twisted sense of humor as I have. Now I know what but I post stuff that makes me laugh, and or makes me think. I have a tendency, that there is a method to my madness. I have a tendency to do a lot of the funny ones in the hopes that it makes people smile, of course, but in the hopes that it attracts their attention, so that then I can put a really cool thing that I would have seen about, like Aretha Franklin singing in some weird little funky place way, way, way back when, and it's some film footage never shown before, or some really cool art art piece out of Europe, or something like this. And I'll just throw these things in, every once in a while. And it's like, we're gonna give you, what's it, farts and culture, as opposed to arts and culture. I'll get you laughing with the first part, but then I'm gonna, so I try to,
Wait, you said farts and culture?
well, if it's arts and culture, but I'm trying, because look what happened. Farts makes people laugh. Unless, of course, you had cabbage for dinner. And then you're just clearing the room, kids. You're just clearing the room. But yeah, so it's I try to ensure as best I can um, that give people a laugh. I sometimes make them think about what's going on around the world. Like when Trump was elected a second time. The first thing I did was post that infamous speech that Charlie Chaplin makes in The Great Dictator. So I'm not always, it's all funny. But I do want it to be smart. I want it to be informative. And if I see something that's really cool happening in arts and culture, I will put that out too. And they all get a response. They're all finding a different audience or appealing to a different segment of an audience. But overall, if you were to look at my page quickly, you'd be like, oh, it's one of a dozen, that is laughs. And I don't apologize for that. And especially in this world that we find ourselves in now, we cannot laugh enough, I think.
Yes.
But there's also so much beauty out there in the world. And
Yes.
I like to get that across sometimes on my posts as well.
I'm so in love with the fact that you said there is so much beauty in the
Oh,
world as well,
the
and
arts
and
and
that's
culture, you know, just when you have enough, or you start to get down on human beings as a whole, you see some of the incredible things that we do out there. And if COVID taught us nothing else, it's just how important arts and culture is in
yes.
terms of stimulating our senses and making us laugh, making us cry, making us think. You can just sit down and become engrossed in arts and culture. And there are so many talented people in so many different mediums all around the world, getting their creative juices flowing and putting it out. That's the one good thing about social media, is it gives them a much larger audience. um, it's unfortunate what it's done to the music industry, but I digress. But yay Spotify. Way to give up a 1.1% of a penny on the dollar to our starving musical artists.
Right.
Hope you do.
No.
Hope, hey, Makers Bar. Hope you enjoy getting slapped with that lawsuit from from Spotify. We're not responsible for the opinions of our guests. Blah blah blah. Yeah,
Sole responsibility on
yeah,
Megamouth Media.
yeah. All me. Yeah. By the way, I'm
No.
only kidding. My name is not Barb. It's at Cindy of No Fixed Address. If you're the Spotify legal team, you can
No.
call me Cindy.
No. Barb, who makes you laugh of today's comedians? Who makes you laugh?
Um, Saturday Night Live, back and forths. Not every one's a winner. Rick Mercer, for those of you who don't know Canadian comedy, I don't know how I could compare him to. He used to be on This Hour's 22 Minutes, which is one of the comedy programs we spoke of earlier. And This Hour's 22 Minutes is basically like SNL with the accent on the weekend update segment kind of thing, right? Everything's based around doing this, broadcast, and then they do skits around it. Rick Mercer is hilarious. There are personal friends I know that are and would know him, and I could say their name, and it wouldn't mean a bloody thing to anyone in the audience, but they make me laugh like hell. Um, Good Lord. We're not going to go into politics, so I won't say who makes me laugh in politics. We'll just leave that one alone. Or
I think you said a mouthful right there.
oh, sorry, the volume wasn't working all of a sudden. Yeah, God, you're really stumping the panel with me today, because I really, and
I'll-
there's so many. I mean, we're going to be done. We're going to have to do a part B, because I'm going to, okay, I've got all the answers that you need, in the, because there's people that like just creep up on social media that make me laugh. There's, you know, gosh, any number. I'm only thinking of Saturday Night Live because of some of their skits. Melissa McCarthy is hilarious.
oh,
Melissa McCarthy,
absolutely.
Kristen Wiig is
Absolutely.
hilarious.
Absolutely. One of my favorites,
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig. Absolutely.
Oh, good
Absolutely.
Lord. you know,
Oh my
and
goodness.
she's not even necessarily a comic, right? You know,
Yeah.
she's a comedic actress,
She's just
and
funny.
yeah, 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 she is. French
Or
and
I'll throw out some
Saunders,
names.
French and
Oh,
Saunders, you know, who are so Jennifer Saunders and Dawn French, and before there was Absolutely Fabulous, the British show, there was they did French and Saunders, and it was all skits, and they could make me laugh and laugh. Any British comedy or comics make me laugh. Um, George Carlin
oh
makes
yes,
me laugh.
genius. Genius.
Um, Kevin Hart makes me laugh. You
Okay.
know, Richard Pryor,
Oh my goodness,
uh,
one of the greats for sure.
Richard Pryor and George Carlin, genius, absolute
Absolutely.
comedic genius.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't even say enough. I think the impact that they've had on the style of comedy and the
Yes.
timing. Right? I can't even say enough about that. I grew up, my older brother, George Carlin and Richard Pryor were a
Mhm.
constant. And just every time to this day, I can have watched any of their stand ups and I still find myself in stitches.
And they're still relevant,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
which
Their
is
influence.
mind-boggling, you know, because we're going back like 30 years for some of them.
Oh, oh yeah.
George Carlin, I was young, so I only knew the, you know, the grizzled older George Carlin.
Oh yeah.
Um, but he was, yeah, you know, it's a pity that neither one, like, he would have a field day with today.
Oh, absolutely.
I
And
think.
it would,
Sorry, go ahead, love.
I was just going to say, it would give a new purpose to his stand up special
Oh,
or the segment when he was just talking about the F word.
yes, 7 words you can't say on television. And, you know, the S word, right? We've all got too much shit. You know, that one, he says, and what do? You know, you might sell some stuff because you got to make room for more shit, you know? And, you know, when you die, you can't take it with you. But boy, do we accumulate. Well, look at me trying to be censoring now after I've dropped the S bomb twice. Oh, well.
Yes.
I don't know
But,
what the FCC regulations are like, but
oh,
tell nerves
oh
to say,
yeah. Yeah.
me
No, but
bad. Mouthy
those are.
Canadian, sorry about that. Yeah, there's
But
gosh, there's you know what, even like the Carol Burnett, like there's
oh
so many
yes, the
different.
classics.
Yeah, right. And I'm just trying to think of. I mean, even then you could almost go specific shows. Like there was oh God, Chuckles the Clown episode on Mary Tyler Moore,
Oh
where
yes.
the clown died, and you know she was aghast that they were all giggling that the clown had died until, of course, the actual celebration of life, you know, service. Um, but yeah, there's just so many people out there that are bringing their comedy, and I like smart comedy, you
Yes,
know.
me too.
And I like comedy with a message. I think Wanda Sykes is starting to become a brilliant comic in terms of speaking, you know, to the truth of what is going on around us now and
Yes, I
trying to
agree.
do it in a humorous way. I remember once going to see many years ago, Ellen DeGeneres,
Oh yes.
and I mean, you know, she's had a tough time of it lately, but back then, you know, it was just comedy. And I remember watching her because as someone who has been up on stage, you know, and behind the microphone, you have a tendency to look at it from their angle out to the audience when you're watching someone. And I remember being so impressed because she started on one point and then spent an hour making everybody laugh, and it went all the way around like a clock circle. And then right when it caught on at 11:59, you know, and 58 seconds, ended on the same point she started with.
Mm.
And I remember thinking, "Oh, you're good, you know." I just thought so.
Oh,
I'm always very impressed by how they put it together. You know how they're writing, and I have probably missed so many people that are incredible comics. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you know, some of the funniest are the ones that you live with, or the ones that you know that you know next door
oh yeah.
that are wasted talents, so to speak.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm.
I remember talking about comedians and humor, my buddy and I were driving, going to Burning Man. That's in
Mhm.
itself is a laughter.
Oh
But
boy, yeah,
but
I just
we
don't want
stopped.
sand in my crotch. That's otherwise I'd have been a Burning Man from year one. But I mean, I see those little dust clouds come in, and I'm like, no, no, I'm good. But I do want to wear like seashells over my nipples and ride a bicycle with a beanie cap on, and Christmas lights around my chest. I'm all for that. I just don't want dust and grime where the sun don't shine. Oh, there we go. There's our song of the day.
There it is. There it is.
So sorry, Burning Man. Go ahead.
Yeah. And so we were on our way there, and we stopped at this ghost town, just for giggles, and just to see. And so the tour person was showing us the ghost town, and the town had this comedian, and he was always playing practical jokes.
Mhm.
And so she said, she really was trying to be composed, and she said, and we're going to go over and see his tombstone, his grave headstone in the cemetery a little bit, but he was known for his sense of humor and pranks on people all the time.
Mhm.
So much so that they thought when he was dying that it was a joke, and they said, we're just going to call his name John, because I don't know what the legalities are with that. But as she was explaining, John played jokes on the whole town, and his humor was contagious. And so when you go over to his tombstone, you're going to really get the message. So the townspeople said, "Oh, he's going to get out of bed. This is just one of his jokes." And then
Yeah.
one day, and they just thought this was his greatest prank ever. So finally, John croaked. He died, and before he died, he whispered to the tombstone maker what to put on his tombstone. So I myself tried to be a gentleman
Yeah.
and tried to
Good luck
maintain.
with that. Yeah.
Right. So we went over to the tombstone. It was a group of people, probably about 15 people. And she said, and there's John's tombstone. And on his tombstone, it said, I told you I was sick.
Yep. Yeah. Wasn't lying.
And so she said, and that was one of his greatest jokes ever, because the people just fell out. So everyone there that was in our group, they were serious and said, oh, wow. And I fell out laughing. And my buddy, he was like, I don't think you're supposed to be laughing at that, Seth.
You gotta laugh at God wouldn't. It's a tired old line, and that's a brilliant tombstone. I'm going to go Google that now. Google in famous or infamous or funny tombstone freaks, because there are dozens and dozens of them. I think
There
I went down
are.
a black hole once looking at them, and some of the things that people have had put on their tombstones is absolutely hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just,
Forgot my
I
train of
just,
thought because now I'm on tombstones.
right.
Yeah, but you have to laugh at, and
Yes,
people again. Well, I know what it was. It was the tired old line of if God made us funny, if God gave us a sense of humor to look at things,
yes,
and sometimes it is definitely a sense of humor that gets you through some of the toughest of times.
absolutely,
And I know this from personal experience that humor can be your savior. and
absolutely.
and it's funny how it can kind of morph, if you're surrounded by death and dying, for instance, that it's humor. It might be darker, but it's still humor. And I think it's
That's right.
it's a humor can act as a salve almost,
Yes, I
when times
agree.
are tough.
I
So
really agree.
we need more of that in this world, that's for sure.
We do. We absolutely do. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I'm curious, out of all of your careers in
Mhm.
the path that you've taken, what would you say was the most rewarding? Is it doing more of your comedy, or is it PR? What was the most satisfying to you?
The volunteerism. Obviously, I've spent the better part of my life giving back to community, and I love it. I love doing that, and I think everyone should almost have to. I mean, you don't want to go down that road. Well, don't legalize what I can and can't do. Don't tell me what I can do with my. But everyone should volunteer at some point in their life, even if it's just a few hours a month. At least you're volunteering and giving back to community. The reason that we are where we are is because of community. And I think community has fallen by the wayside,
Mm,
as for instance, everyone used to know their neighbors. Everyone used to know their
yes,
neighbors, even in apartment buildings. And now it's like we have our homes and you go in and you hide from the world almost. And I get it. It can be a daunting place at the best of times. But community is what brings us together. Just when
yes.
you think, God, this world, there's nothing more we could do, you'll hear about something that has brought everybody together to help and work as one. And when people do this, all of a sudden they're like, you can see the smiles on all their faces and you can see how it has brought everybody together and everyone's smiling because we're working together. Because I think innately as humans, we're social animals. We need community, and community is divided now a lot of the time. There's it's a us against them mentality. But when it comes to doing something nice or doing something good, or if something bad happens where everybody rallies, the old the kitten in the tree kind of a thing. um it's a beautiful thing, and I don't want to get teary because I really do believe in it. But when we work together, we do create a better space.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
volunteerism has been the greatest passion of yours in your professional career.
Gosh, and I've been everything from a private investigator to a senior advisor for a member of the federal government. I have been a facilities manager. I've been in PR. I've worked in film for 12 years. It took me overseas to Germany. So I've had some very distinctive career courses, and all of them have taught me skills and life skills that all work together, funnily enough, because some of them could be so different, all these different careers. But when it comes right down to it, it in any task you take on, that with a very healthy dose. God bless my parents for that one. They gave me lots of common sense, you know,
Lots of common
and
sense.
yeah, lots of common sense. And if you're raised with a good head on your shoulders, as provided by good parenting, that and all these different jobs, it's like I do truly feel that you could throw me, or I could throw me into pretty much any situation and be able to get myself out of it,
Private
with
investigator.
minimal damage, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Private investigator. That is something
yeah,
else. What was that
yeah.
like?
Um, and God, it's going to sound so, I'm not trying to be mysterious, but there's a lot of it that I can't talk about. But suffice to say that
That's what she
there's
said.
yeah, that's what she said. That's for the dirty jokes. I didn't get that one right across. Sorry, folks. Again, our pre-show chat, but
Yes.
introducing him to some colorful language. Yeah, it was different. I mean, I literally did have a time when I had to have microphones taped to my chest and go into a business and pretend I was someone I wasn't. But no, none of the flying over the tops of cars with guns drawn like Charlie's Angels, or like that ominous Quinn Martin production music that the old shows from the back from whatever. But yeah, it was, and again, it's so funny how each one of these just sort of evolved. It just kind of morphed from I'm a firm believer in the fates, and I'm a firm believer in you walk down a path and a fork in the road comes along, and it's well, let's see where this goes.
Oh yeah.
And it's been some wild rides. It really really has.
If you don't mind me asking, what drove you, or what led you into private investigation as a field? I just find it very fascinating.
A job opportunity came up, and it was a private investigations company in Vancouver, and yeah, I don't even really recall because it was way earlier in my career, but that's why I've got the eyes up, going, I'm looking for a thought bubble above my head. Just ain't there right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and it evolved as the company grew, and then we had a very big event here in Vancouver that was Expo '86. And in Expo '86, I ended up working with the coordinated law enforcement unit with the provincial government because they were, we were all stationed out of the same offices, and that led to more work that was more in the investigative field. And then there's, if you've got slow months, we'd pick up like mystery shopping. So it was all over the place. It was all sorts of investigations, but it was very interesting and literally a lifetime ago, that's for sure. Long time ago now.
Well, it definitely seems like you have that entrepreneurial spirit as well. And we're constantly talking about Makersbar as in creating these
Mhm.
1 million leaders. So, an entrepreneurial spirit, is that extremely important to end up with wisdom and humor as you've gotten that? Would you feel, maybe I rephrase that, would you think of yourself as an entrepreneur?
No,
Okay.
no, I wouldn't. And it's funny. Part of that might be, if I'm an entrepreneur, I should be rich. Knowing full well that that's not necessarily, but that all the things you see, when they plug the advertising for it. Um, I'm willing to take some risks, obviously, because again, I have worked in so many different fields where it's like, well, um, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't consider, but I guess I am. I think anyone who grabs the bulls by the horn and just or decides to open their own business or to take something off as opposed to having the comfort of working within an established business has that entrepreneur spirit. So I guess I'm going to go for full circle on your question and come back to, yeah, okay, maybe I am. you know yeah. Mm. I never really thought about it that way because I've worked, in the corporate side of things for a long time, and everything did just evolve. Like it was all very organic how it is one job is flowed into another. And one thing you can say about entrepreneurs is if they see an opportunity, they take it.
Yes.
And I guess I could say that. And like a dose of common sense and using the skills that you grew up with and were educated with, and a little bit of what your parents taught you, and again, all the different skill sets that you pick up at various jobs all go into, because I don't want to give uh, anything more than 110%. I know that's a very
Mm.
pat answer. Comes off sounding like I'm in a job interview, but I firmly do, I firmly do believe that, and I believe whatever you get into, you've got to give all of yourself, and
Amen.
you do always do the best job you possibly can, so that you can walk away. And if it doesn't work out, you say, "Hey, at least I tried," right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I got to say, I thought it wasn't just a pat answer. It's actually a great answer to say you don't want to give anything less than 110%.
Oh God,
And
every time. Yeah.
you know, I think I actually, I have not heard that in a while. I hear, oh, give 110%, but I don't want to give anything less than 110%.
Hmm.
I
No,
just
no,
love
for
that.
sure.
Now,
Um,
go
that's
ahead.
personal put expectations, right? That's on me. But, I'm a little old school that way.
Yeah.
If I'm not, I don't want to waste anyone's time. And if I'm there to do something, I want to do it best. And again, a lot of the work that I have done over my lifetime has been in giving back to community, either through volunteerism or through work. And I want to, this is of course after the, the PI stuff, but later I got to about, I think it was around 98, late 90s, where pretty much most of my work after that was all about giving back. And so, others are relying on me at that stage. So that's why I want to give 110. I don't know any other way to do it, quite frankly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's even better put. I definitely don't. I don't know any other way than to do
Yeah.
that. Was there a
Go big or
specific?
go home.
That's it.
Your mantra, man. Go big or go home. Yeah.
Was there a book or something you've read in the past that was really that influenced you to think along these lines? Was it a book or something that you can mention, or you found, oh, you know what, this helped inspire me in this area?
I love Maya Angelou. I love the poetry of Reiki. Um, oh my Lord. God, you really do know how to ask the potent questions. And the funny thing is that I was sitting here and talking to you, and I'm looking at all these books that are up on the wall, and I'm going, yeah, yeah. And I'm going, yeah, yeah, that's good, but um, not really. I haven't had a lot of outside, like I want to get into this because of something, or it's just opportunities to come up, and I go, yeah, I want to be a part of that. I want to help. I want to see this world be a better place. I want us to be kinder. And a lot of nonprofit organizations, for instance, don't necessarily, funding cuts and things like this. That So I've just found that slowly a lot of my work has revolved around that. There was no guiding light. It's other than, as we talked about earlier, was my mother, and giving back and doing unto others as you would have done unto yourself. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I'm a firm believer in live each day like it's your last. So, I'm a firm believer in telling someone you love them is every time you see them, because you never know. That could be the last time you see them. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. You can't change yesterday. You don't know what tomorrow is. So make sure do the best you can right now and today. And so I don't necessarily think that there are any outside influences, like, for instance, a book, that have shaped me as much as it was the people around me shaping me, the living entities.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Mm,
Oh, I dig that. I really do. I dig
awesome.
that. And so, if you were given a piece of advice to someone who's interested in following the comedic trail or comedic pathway into their career, or they were interested in going to PR,
Hmm.
either one of those, what's the piece of advice you would say other than stay the course? What would you suggest to them to try and give them a head start in that direction?
I do believe to be good in PR, you need to have a certain headset or mindset. I think it can be learned to a degree, but I think learned also can create silos and make you less able to think outside the box. I think you have to be quick in PR. I think you have to be anticipatory in PR. I think you have to see worst case and best case scenarios out of a certain dot on a wall, or a person or an entity. I would say you can learn, and sorry, earmuffs to all the people running, colleges and universities. I would say you can learn a hell of a lot more in terms of PR by doing it.
Mhm.
So if you are getting schooling, um, try and get a mentor, or try and do some part-time work or anything where you can be the sponge that soaks up the knowledge in a PR firm. Read everything you can on PR, and it is evolving so much now with what's online. I would think at this stage of the game for PR, learning crisis management, because we have a world of a billion microphones now, right? The whole world
Oh
has the
yeah.
potential for a microphone, and making an ass out of themselves in front of millions and billions of people, literally.
Yeah.
So I think crisis management is a very effective tool to have for PR, for sure. And try and enjoy. I mean, there's elements. You have to be creative. You have to be able to come up with a great slogan or a campaign. If someone does, I think is it Burger King that takes on McDonald's every chance they get on social media, and some of their trolling, for want of a better phrase, has been brilliant marketing. So you have to think outside the box, be creative. I would say yes, schooling, but the onus shouldn't be on the schooling. It should be on the people who work in the industry that you can learn from. You're going to learn more from working with the people who've been doing it for years, and then doing it yourself, right? Comedy, gosh, I don't know. If you're there's so many people I know that are hilariously funny that don't do anything with it, that don't want to stand up on a stage and with a microphone, and then talk to everyone. It can be a lonely existence. Others can be hilarious, are very gifted writers. that are hilarious writers that have good book, things like that. So, or you could be literally a writer that is behind the scenes writing comedy for others. So I would say, for number one, there's plenty of people out there that think they're funny, and they that's fine.
Right. Right.
You're
Right.
so cute. Yeah, there's nothing worse than listening to someone who isn't funny, who thinks they're funny. And I think we all know that, we've all come across those people before.
Yes.
So, I would say don't get into it. But if you truly believe in yourself, you can do anything. You know,
Yes.
don't not do it because you don't think you might. There's an audience for everybody,
I believe that.
and there's great ways to hone your craft. There is like Second City troops, those kind of
Absolutely.
things. There's
That's right.
theater troops. Well, yeah, every big town or town even has a troupe of or theater, that is bent on comedy, and go and perform at. What do you got to lose? You can be 20 and you think you're 20 forever. You can be 40 and you still think you're going to be 20 forever. And you hit 60, you go, what the hell happened? So that's my long form way of saying life is just too damn short. Sugar, get out there and taste the roses. And if that means
That's right.
picking up a mic in a comedy, go for it.
That's right.
Just make sure you're
That's really
funny,
good.
because the ones that aren't, that think they are, they kill me, man. They just kill
Right.
me.
Right. Right. What's the one word you hate the most?
Hate,
The one word you love to
love.
say.
To say, oh gosh. Well, I'm a Canadian, so that would be thank you. You're welcome. Can I hold the door open for you, please? I think, I think anything that is a positive along that lines. I mean, I hate the word hate because it really is so hard. Despise,
Mhm.
and I've caught myself saying that I hate so and so, and then I'll turn around and go, well, I don't hate it. I just actively dislike it because hate is a real hard word and it's
Mhm.
harsh. And there is far too much of that in this world right now.
Absolutely.
Um, and but words I love to say is, yeah, I love you. I'll see you soon. Thank
Mhm.
you. Thank you. We should be, and again, I get teary, but thank you is not used often enough, and it is used less and less. Seriously, someone holds the door open for you. Thank you. Someone lets you in traffic. Wave. Thank you. And I firmly believe it is the most important thing you can teach kids when they're
Absolutely.
when they're infants. The first thing you should do is teach them how to be polite. You know, but yeah, we're all blessed. So
Absolutely.
love and
I
hate, those two words bring such extreme,
they
response.
do. They do.
But they
They
are so
do.
literally perfect in their own way
Yeah.
in terms of how they explain.
I just love listening to you explain it. That just
Yeah.
warms my heart. No
Just
kidding.
be kind, people. Just try and just a little bit of kindness every single day. Even if you only do it once, and then go about being your bitter ass selves. Just say thank you, then take your bitter ass self home and lock yourself away so that we don't have to deal with your bull. Pearls of wisdom pulled right out of my ass, straight into your heart. There's a visual we didn't need today.
Oh, oh, if you could meet a person, who is the person you'd love to meet and just spend have a glass of wine and a good meal with, alive or
Ooh,
past?
ooh, share. I think share'd be hilarious.
Okay.
Eleanor Roosevelt,
Mm.
you
Why
know,
Eleanor Roosevelt? I'm curious.
an exceptionally bright woman, did a lot. She was actually one of the more active first ladies,
She really
right?
was. A lot of
She
people
really was.
don't know. Yeah.
No, she had a lot of background in terms of the New Deal, and you know, um, I would love to sit with Emily Carr, who is a very famous Canadian painter, one of the group of seven, and she came out to the West Coast and ended up just out in the wild painting pictures of, and is most known for, being on indigenous lands and pictures of the totem poles, because there are areas where you can go out in the forest and it's their graveyards, right? It's their ancestral lands, and there'll be, totem poles that have been sitting there for hundreds of years. Um, Queen Elizabeth, if no one else is allowed to be in the room, actually, her and her mom, the Queen Mom and Queen Elizabeth II, I think those two would be hilarious. Sitting around watching Coronation Street or something, I think they would be hilarious. Oh gosh,
I heard she had a great sense of
David
humor.
Bowie. I
David
think David
Bowie?
Bowie, yeah, I think he would be a really cool person to sit
Oh
down with
yeah.
and have a chat. And I always thought that because I think it was based on an interview I saw with her once, but Grace Slick of Jefferson Airplane or
Oh yeah.
Jefferson Starship, I can't, doesn't matter.
Both, yeah.
Both, right?
Mhm.
Um, was very interesting. There's some people that you just you go, wow, I wouldn't have thought that. And again, not being able to. I'm sure there is a dozen names I could rattle off. Uh, yeah, I mean, there's probably some more Europeans, probably some a couple more from Europe and in Asia. Attila the Hun, like how'd you do it?
wait, wait. What if he tries to kill you though?
Yeah, no, no. Mama didn't raise no fool. I'd have my chopsticks at the ready. Uh, yeah, there's so many. Oh, you know what? Even more so than Queen Elizabeth Joan of Arc.
Oh, dig it. For sure,
I
for sure.
mean,
Oh,
if I
for
really
sure.
start to think about it, there's
Oh,
just
for sure.
so many. Yeah, Joan of Arc would be
Oh
what
yeah.
an amazing individual. And she
Oh,
was still a
absolutely.
teenager. There's reading and history can be so cool. And I know I'm sounding like a PBS commercial, but really, really are.
Yeah.
It's so cool, and to see the human spirit and what it's. I mean, my gosh, the resistance fighters in World War II, for instance.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And you'll read about, and there'll be these young girls that are standing in front of the firing squad, and they're still fight the vive la différence and vive la résistance when they're about to be mowed down by Nazi gunfire, and they're like 18, 19 years of age,
Yeah.
and didn't
Yeah.
give up a damn thing when tortured
Yep. That's right.
mercilessly for you know the human spirit is indomitable and incredible, and it can be evil, but it can also be absolutely glorious. And there is, if you don't do anything else, folks, and you've got extra time, start reading, start learning
Yeah.
history, because it can really be empowering as to just what how amazing humans can be for good,
Oh, I
or
love
how much they can persevere when pushed. As opposed to, there's so much happening in this world now, and especially with the social media and a digital universe that we have, that can show you just how crappy humans are, that we need to really try and focus on just what the positives are, and how amazing we can be as humans.
Oh, that's the perfect way to bring this to a close. It's just absolutely the perfect way. Barb, my
Podcast drop. You did a good job. I'm not often stumped, but you asked some very good questions.
well, when you
Hope I
have
don't come off sounding like too much of a total fool.
not at all. If anything, some of the words that you really appreciate, I thank you and I love you. You
Namaste,
just
my
have brought
brother. Thank you.
absolutely. You have just brought so much joy to my heart, and I've shared with people. You've got to check this chick out. Now, I use chick, not being politically correct, but I mean in a bad way. But more so saying, you got to check her out. She is the funniest person. And then also the pearls of wisdom that I do see behind some of the humorous things that you put. But I thank you for what you brought to Maker's Bar audience, what you continue to bring to people. I thank you for your insight and your wisdom. And I mentioned this several times in our pre-interview and here, but the joy that you bring to people just
Well,
it
thank
radiates.
you.
It
Now
radiates.
people are going to go and check me out, and they're going to go, what the hell is he talking about? She's crazy. She's batshit crazy, that one.
no,
uh,
no.
Thank you very much, Seth, for having me on, and thank you for listening to me babble on, sometimes knowing what I'm talking about, Maker's Bar audience. And be yeah, just be kind. Try to find the humor and love in life, and be kind and be polite. Mama said.
I love that. I just love that. Now, where can people get in contact with you? Where would you like them to get in contact with you if they're interested in some of your services, or they just would like to say hi to you, or they might even try and be polite? Where would you like to see them connect with you?
They can check me out on the socials across platforms. I have a Blue Sky, Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. I also have a LinkedIn, but it's Barb Snelgrove. But for most of the socials, it's at Megamouth Media.
Fantastic. Well, Maker's Bar audience, where my laughter has gone on continuously from this incredible person. I must say today has been one of the most joyous and humorous and energetic days for me with this interview, I have to say. The love
Yep.
evolution begins with you. The love evolution
Uh-huh.
is the revolution you want. And
Here, here.
Barb might be hearing this for the first time, but what I like to do is end each of the podcast episodes by saying the revolution that we wanted is the love evolution that you start. So let's begin a revolution of love, and it's called the love evolution. Be
Here,
kind.
here.
Here. Be kind, be polite, and tell someone you love them today. And also hold the door open for ladies. Take the words from Mama right
And
here.
don't believe everything that you hear on social media, unless, of course, I said it. But don't believe everything you hear on social media, folks. There is a lot of crap going on right now to manipulate you. Educate yourselves. Take it upon yourselves. Google it, Brenda.
Well said.
Educate yourselves.
Absolutely well said. Well said. I can't thank you again. Megamouth Media, Barbara Snelgrove, we love you and we thank you for taking out the time to be with us today.
Thanks very much for having me. It has been an absolute joy and a pleasure. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers. Barb, talk to you soon and we'll see you next time. We definitely have to get together and do this again.
We shall do that, my friend, my newfound friend.
Absolutely. Forever. I just can't tell you enough.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.